I should have known something was off when my best friend insisted I wear the red dress. "Trust me, Emma," she'd said, her eyes gleaming with that mischievous spark I'd learned to be wary of. "This guy is different. Different." That's what she always said. But tonight, standing outside Vivace, one of those restaurants where you need a second mortgage just to afford the breadsticks, I felt it. That electric charge in the air that makes your skin prickle and your instincts scream to turn around and run. I didn't run. I never do. That's my problem, really. Emma Carter, 28-year-old elementary school teacher, too stubborn for her own good. My mother says it'll get me killed one day. Looking back now, she might have been onto something. The hostess led me through the dimly lit restaurant, past tables where couples whispered over wine and candlelight. My heels clicked against marble floors that probably cost more than my yearly salary. Everything here screamed money. Old money, new money, dirty money. "Your party is waiting," the hostess said, gesturing to a private booth in the back. That's when I saw him. If you're enjoying this story, hit that like button and subscribe. It really helps. He sat with the confidence of someone who owned not just the restaurant, but possibly the entire block. Dark hair swept back from a face that could have been carved by Renaissance masters. Sharp jawline, high cheekbones, lips that quirked into a half-smile as our eyes met. But it was his eyes that stopped me cold. Dark, penetrating, holding secrets that could fill libraries. He stood as I approached, all 6-foot-something of tailored perfection. The suit probably cost more than my car. "Emma," he said, and my name on his lips felt like a caress and a threat all at once. "I'm sorry. Have we—" "Sit down." Not a request. A command delivered so smoothly, I found myself sliding into the booth before my brain caught up. He sat across from me, still wearing that infuriating half-smile, the kind that said he knew something I didn't. "You don't remember me, do you?" he asked, leaning back with the ease of a panther watching its prey. My mind raced. Had we met before? Those eyes, that voice, something tugged at my memory, but I couldn't place it. "I don't think so." His smile widened. "3rd grade. Jefferson Elementary. You punched Tommy Morrison in the face for pulling my hair." The memory hit me like a freight train. A small boy with too long dark hair and hand-me-down clothes. Quiet. Always sitting alone at lunch. The other kids called him names because he lived in the trailer park. "Dante," I whispered. "Dante Moretti? Most people call me Mr. Moretti now, or boss, or sir, but you can call me Dante." This couldn't be the same boy. That Dante had been small, vulnerable, with sad eyes that broke my 8-year-old heart. This man radiated power and danger. "You've changed," I managed. "So have you." His gaze traveled over me, slow and deliberate, though you still have that fire in your eyes, that same righteous fury you had when you defended the weak. I was just a hero. My hero, specifically. Do you know what that punch meant to me? I shook my head, unable to form words. "Everything," he said simply. "You were the only person who ever stood up for me, the only one who saw me as worth defending. I promised myself that day that I'd become someone worthy of that defense, someone strong enough that no one would ever dare hurt me again. And did you?" His smile turned cold. "I became so much more than that. I became the person people fear, the one they whisper about, the one whose name makes grown men nervous." A chill ran down my spine. "What are you saying?" He leaned forward. "I'm saying that the boy you saved grew up to run this city. Every restaurant, every club, every business that matters. They answer to me. I'm the monster the other monsters fear." My throat went dry. "You're with the Mafia. I am the Mafia, at least in Boston. The Moretti family. Perhaps you've heard of us?" I had. Everyone had. The Morettis were legendary, ruthless, powerful, untouchable. They controlled everything from the docks to City Hall, and I was sitting across from their leader. I should have run, should have gotten up and walked out. But those eyes, even drowning in darkness, still held a glimpse of that lonely boy I'd defended. "Why?" I asked. "Why bring me here? Why now?" His expression softened slightly. "Because I never forgot you, Emma. Because 20 years later, I'm finally in a position to thank you properly, to give you everything you could ever want. I don't want anything from you. Liar. Everyone wants something. Money, power, protection, love." He paused on that last word. "I can give you all of it. At what cost? Smart girl. The cost is simple. Have dinner with me. Let me prove that the monster everyone fears still has the heart of that boy you saved. Against every ounce of common sense, I found myself nodding. One dinner, he agreed. What I didn't know then was that one dinner would become 2, then 3, then a lifetime of nights where I'd question whether I'd saved a boy or doomed myself by falling for the beautiful, terrifying man he'd become. The food arrived in courses that could have fed my entire classroom for a week. Dante watched me with those penetrating eyes as I navigated dishes I couldn't pronounce. Each time I reached for my water glass, I caught him studying me like I was a puzzle he couldn't solve. "You're staring," I said. "I'm memorizing. 20 years I've wondered what became of the girl with fire in her fists. I'm a teacher. I fight for kids every day." "Of course you are." He set down his fork. "Let me guess. You work in an underfunded school. You spend your own money on supplies. You stay late helping students whose parents work multiple jobs." My cheeks flushed. "That's not... Am I wrong?" I wasn't going to give him the satisfaction. "What about you? How does someone go from Jefferson Elementary to running the Boston underworld?" The warmth flickered, replaced by something harder. The same way anyone survives when the world decides you're disposable. You adapt. You fight. You become harder than the people trying to break you. That's not an answer. It's the only answer I have. After my mother died, I went into foster care. 7 different homes in 3 years. Some were neglectful. Others, his jaw tightened. Let's just say I learned early that kindness was rare. My heart clenched. "I'm sorry. Don't be. It made me strong." By 16, I was living on the streets. By 17, I was running numbers for the Calabrese family. By 20, I'd earned enough respect to start building my own operation. And by 25, I'd taken over the entire Northeast Corridor. Through violence, through necessity. In my world, you're either the predator or the prey. I chose to be the apex. That's a lonely way to live. Something flickered across his face. It is, which is why finding you again feels like finally catching my breath after drowning for 20 years. The intensity made my pulse race. This was insane. I was having dinner with a mob boss who'd admitted to building an empire on blood and fear. I should be horrified. Instead, I was leaning closer. "You can't just show up after 2 decades and expect to pick up where we left off," I said. "We were 8 years old. We don't know each other. Then let's change that. Ask me anything." "Anything? I've never lied to you, Emma. I won't start now." "Fine. How many people have you killed?" He answered calmly. "Personally? 12. All of them either tried to kill me first or hurt people under my protection. I don't believe in unnecessary violence." My stomach turned. "And you sleep fine at night?" "No. I haven't slept well since I was 8 years old and watched my mother overdose. The men I've killed don't keep me awake. The boy I used to be does. The one who believed the world could be kind." The pain in his voice was so raw I found myself reaching across the table. My hand covered his, and he went completely still. "That boy is still in there," I said softly. "I can see him." His free hand covered mine, trapping it gently. "You always could see things others missed. Is that why you brought me here? Because you want me to see the real you?" "I brought you here because I spent 20 years building an empire, and the moment I had enough power to track you down, I did. Because that punch you threw changed everything. It gave me a reason to survive." My throat tightened. "Dante, I'm not asking you to love me. Not yet. I'm asking you to give me a chance to prove that the heart you defended is still beating under all this darkness. I'm not a savior. I'm a teacher from Dorchester with student loan debt." He smiled, transforming his face. "You're exactly what you've always been. The one person who saw value where others saw trash. The only woman in Boston brave enough to hold the hand of a man they call the Reaper." I looked down, realizing I was still holding his hand. I should have pulled away, but something deeper kept me rooted. "This is crazy," I whispered. "Completely, but I've been told I have a gift for making the impossible happen." "What do you want from me?" The question hung heavy. Dante's expression grew serious. "Everything, eventually. But tonight, just your company, just the chance to remember what it felt like when the world still held possibilities." A waiter cleared our plates. The interruption gave me space to think. Everything screamed danger. Dante Moretti was a criminal, a killer, the kind of man who ruined lives. But I saw layers: the powerful boss, the lonely boy, and something vulnerable and desperate for connection. One condition: I said finally. Name it. You keep your world separate from mine. My students, my friends, my family, they stay out of this. Done. You have my word. And Emma, my word is the one thing in this city that's absolute. Okay, we can see where this goes. Slowly, the smile that spread across his face was like watching the sun break through storm clouds. I can work with slowly. I've waited 20 years. 3 dates in, I started noticing the details. The way men in expensive suits nodded deferentially as we passed. How restaurant owners materialized personally. The black SUVs that followed me everywhere. You promised to keep your world separate, I said over coffee. Dante didn't pretend ignorance. The men following you aren't my world bleeding into yours. They're me keeping you safe. The moment I took you to Vivace, certain people became aware of you. People who would use you to get to me. A chill ran down my spine. So I'm bait? A liability? You're precious. And that makes you valuable to my enemies. The protection isn't negotiable. I should have argued. But the intensity in his eyes told me this was one battle I wouldn't win. Fine. But tell your guards to be less obvious. He smiled. Done. You won't even know they're there. 3 weeks became a month. Dante called every night. We fell into routines. Sunday morning coffee, Wednesday dinners, Friday movies at his penthouse. He listened when I talked about my students, asked about their progress, offered to fund classroom supplies. I kept refusing. His money felt like crossing a line. But then Marcus happened. Marcus was one of my 5th graders, brilliant but struggling. His father had died. His mother worked double shifts. He needed glasses but couldn't afford them, was falling behind. I mentioned it to Dante over dinner, frustrated at a system that failed kids. The next morning, the principal called me in. An anonymous donor had established a fund for students with medical needs. Marcus would get his glasses. So would 12 other kids. I knew it was Dante. When I confronted him, he didn't deny it. You said I couldn't give you anything. You never said I couldn't help your students. That's not fair. Nothing about us is fair. But I'm done apologizing for taking care of what matters to you. His hand cupped my face. Let me do this. Let me use what I have to make your world easier. This wasn't about buying my affection. It was about a man surrounded by darkness doing something good with his power. Okay, but nothing too extravagant. Subtle charity, got it. He kissed my forehead. Thank you for letting me do this. You're thanking me? You're letting me be more than what I've become. You make me want to be better. My heart twisted. What if that man is gone? Then I'll spend the rest of my life trying anyway. For you. That night, he kissed me for the first time. Real kisses that stole my breath. Kisses that tasted like promise and danger and hope. I should have been afraid. But wrapped in his arms, I felt safe. It was a dangerous illusion. One that shattered 3 days later when Antonio Calabresi made his move. I was leaving school when a black sedan pulled up. Not one of Dante's. 2 men flanked me. Miss Carter. Mr. Calabresi would like a word. Fear froze me. Antonio Calabresi ran the rival family, the one Dante had displaced. I don't have anything to say to him. He insists. Where were Dante's guards? This was planned. My phone was in my bag, but I'd never reach it. The street was empty. I thought about running, about fighting. Then I thought about Dante, and what he'd do. The war it would start. So I made a choice. If I go with you, you leave my students alone. This school, everyone in it, off limits. The man's smile turned genuine. Moretti chose well. Do we have a deal? You're not in a position to negotiate. Yes, I am. Because if you hurt me without Dante knowing why, he'll burn this city down. But if I come willingly, you'll have a bargaining chip. The men exchanged glances. Get in the car. And Miss Carter, I hope this ends better than it usually does. I climbed in, heart hammering. As we pulled away, I saw Dante's guards running around the corner. Too late. I'd been right. Dante's world and mine couldn't stay separate. They'd just collided, and I was about to discover what it meant to be loved by a man called the Reaper. The warehouse smelled like rust and old blood. Antonio Calabresi sat watching me with shark-like calculation. He was older than Dante, silver-templed, scarred. Where Dante radiated controlled danger, Calabresi was all sharp edges and rage. You know why you're here. Because you're using me to get to Dante. Smart girl. You're here because Dante Moretti took something from me. Now I'm taking something from him. I forced calm. What did he take? My territory, my business, my respect. 20 years ago, I was untouchable. Then that gutter rat I gave a chance decided he wanted more. He waited until I was weak, until my own son betrayed me, and he struck. That was business. This is personal. Everything is personal in my world. Your boyfriend should have taught you that. He showed me his phone. A photo of Dante outside my apartment, surrounded by men, fury in his posture. He knows. And he's about 15 minutes from tearing this city apart. The question is whether you'll be alive when he finds you. My stomach dropped. What do you want? My empire back. But I'm reasonable. Just enough to rebuild. To retire with dignity. He circled my chair. What's your life worth? How much territory will Moretti sacrifice? You think he'll negotiate? I think he'll do anything to keep you breathing. I've seen how he looks at you. Like you're water in a desert. Like you're the only thing keeping him from becoming the monster everyone thinks he is. A door burst open. One of his men rushed in, pale. Boss, we've got a problem. Moretti's hitting our locations. 3 warehouses, 2 clubs. He's taking them offline systematically. Calabresi's expression darkened. How many? 8 locations in 10 minutes. He's sending a message. Every minute I keep her, he takes a piece of my operation. I felt pride mixed with terror. This was Dante unleashed. It should have frightened me. Instead, it felt like watching a hurricane from inside the eye. Let me go. Before this becomes a war, neither of you can win. It's already a war. Calabresi grabbed his phone, dialed. I heard Dante's cold fury. Where is she? Alive, for now. But that could change. Nothing in this city is yours anymore, old man. Then let's trade. Half the docks, the casino, the construction contracts. You give me those back, I give you the girl. Silence. Dante thinking, calculating. No, he said finally. My heart stopped. No? Calabresi echoed. You'd let her die. You misunderstand. I'm not negotiating because you have nothing I want more than what you've already taken. So here's my counteroffer. You release Emma unharmed within 3 minutes. In exchange, I'll let you and your men leave Boston alive, retire, fade into obscurity. And if I refuse, then I'll take apart everything you've ever loved. Your son who betrayed you, I'll make sure he knows who got him killed. Your granddaughter in Miami, I'll buy her school and shut it down. Your wife's grave, I'll have it relocated to a landfill. I will erase any evidence that Antonio Calabresi ever mattered. You'll die forgotten. The cruelty should have repulsed me, but I understood. Dante was showing how far he'd go, proving mercy had limits. Calabresi's hand shook. You've become a monster. You made me one. 20 years ago, you taught me that power is everything and loyalty means nothing. I learned well. But Emma taught me something else. That the boy I was still matters. That redemption is possible. So I'm fighting, Antonio. Not for territory. For the one person who makes me want to be better than what you made me. Tears burned my eyes. This was the heart I'd seen beneath the darkness. 2 minutes. Then I stopped being reasonable. Calabresi looked at me. You love him? I thought about lying. But looking at this broken man, I chose honesty. Yes. God help me, I do. Then pray he remembers that when the darkness takes him. Because monsters don't love, they consume. He gestured to his men. Take her back. Drop her at Jefferson Elementary. Before I could respond, I was in a car. 10 minutes later, they left me in the school parking lot. 3 black SUVs screeched in. Dante was out instantly, closing the distance, pulling me against him desperately. His hands checked for injuries. I'm okay. He let me go. I would have burned the world. Every person, every building. I would have done it for you. I pulled back to see his face. The mask was gone. Just Dante, terrified and relieved. I know. I heard you. Every word was true. I know. I cupped his face. Take me home. You're home. He searched my expression. This changes things. People know you matter to me, that you're my weakness, or your strength. His smile was sad. You always were an optimist. Dante's penthouse overlooked the Boston skyline like a throne room surveying a kingdom. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed the city in gold and shadow. Everything was expensive, masculine, carefully controlled, just like the man who lived here. But as he led me inside, his hand never leaving mine, I saw the cracks in that control, the way he kept glancing at me like I might disappear. the tension in his shoulders that hadn't eased since the warehouse. "Sit," he said, guiding me to a leather couch. "I'll get you water, or wine, or... Dante." I caught his hand, pulling him down beside me. "I'm okay, really." "You're not." His thumb traced my wrist, finding my racing pulse. "Your heart is still pounding. You're pale, and you're trying to be strong when you should be falling apart. Would falling apart help? It would be human." His expression twisted. "This is my fault. I knew the risks of bringing you into my world, and I did it anyway because I'm a selfish bastard who wanted you more than I wanted to keep you safe." The self-loathing in his voice broke something in me. "You didn't bring me into anything. I chose to stay. I chose you." "Why?" The question came out raw. "You've seen what I am now, what I'm capable of. The threats I made to Calabrese, I meant every word. I would have destroyed his entire bloodline to get you back. That's not love, Emma. That's obsession. Possession." I shifted to face him fully, taking both his hands in mine. "You want to know why? Because when I was 8 years old, I saw a boy being hurt, and I couldn't look away. And 20 years later, I see a man drowning in darkness, still fighting to hold on to the light. That's not obsession. That's hope." "Hope," he repeated, like the word was foreign. "Yes, hope that the boy I saved is still in there. That maybe, just maybe, I can help him find his way back." Dante's laugh was bitter. "You can't save me twice, sweetheart. This time I'm in too deep. Then I'll go deep with you." The words came out before I could stop them, but I didn't take them back. "I'm not leaving, Dante. Not because I'm trapped or scared. Because I choose this. I choose you." Something broke in his expression. He pulled me against him, his face buried in my hair. "You're going to destroy me," he whispered. "Make me soft, weak. Or maybe I'll make you stronger." I pulled back enough to meet his eyes. "What you did today, threatening Calabrese, dismantling his operation piece by piece, that wasn't weakness. That was a man protecting what matters to him. There's strength in that. There's also consequences." He stood, pacing to the windows. "Calabrese is just the beginning. Every rival, every ambitious lieutenant, every two-bit gangster who thinks they can make a name for themselves, they all just learned my weakness. You." I joined him at the window, the city sprawling below us. "So what do we do?" "We?" He looked at me, surprise flickering across his features. "You said people know I matter to you. That makes this my fight too." I crossed my arms. "So stop trying to protect me from reality and tell me what happens next." For a long moment he just studied me. Then slowly he nodded. "Next I make an example. Show anyone thinking about using you against me exactly what that mistake costs. Calabrese gets to leave because he surrendered. The next person who tries won't be so lucky. You're going to kill someone. Probably multiple someones. No apology. No sugarcoating. Just brutal honesty. That's what being with me means, Emma. Blood on my hands that'll never wash clean. Can you live with that?" I thought about my students. About teaching them right from wrong. About justice and fairness. And all the ideals I'd built my life around. Then I thought about Dante at 8 years old, alone and afraid, and the man he'd become through sheer will to survive. "I don't know," I admitted, "but I'm willing to try." His smile was sad. "Most people would run. I'm not most people. You should know that by now." He reached out, tucking a strand of hair behind my ear with surprising gentleness. "No, you're not. You're extraordinary, and terrifying, and mine." That last word shouldn't have sent heat through me. But it did. "Possessive much? You have no idea." His hand slid to the back of my neck, drawing me closer. 20 years I've built this empire, and nothing, not money, not power, not respect, has felt like this. Like if I lost you, the whole thing would mean nothing. "Dante," he kissed me then, swallowing whatever I'd been about to say. Not gentle like before. This was raw need and barely controlled desperation. His other arm wrapped around my waist, pulling me flush against him. I kissed him back with equal intensity, pouring everything I couldn't say into the connection. Fear and hope, and that terrifying, exhilarating feeling of falling with no idea where I'd land. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against mine. "Stay tonight. Don't go back to your apartment. Not yet. Okay? Just like that? No arguments about propriety or taking things slow? I smiled. Someone recently told me that monsters don't love, they consume. I'm starting to think he was wrong, that maybe monsters love the hardest because they know exactly how precious it is. Dante's expression softened in a way I'd never seen. You're going to ruin me. Good. You could use some ruining. He laughed, genuine and surprised. How are you real? Years of practice. I took his hand, lacing our fingers together. Now show me where you keep your coffee. If I'm staying, I need a guarantee of caffeine in the morning. Demanding. You knew what you were getting into. As he led me toward the kitchen, still holding my hand like I might vanish, I realized something. This wasn't about saving Dante anymore. It was about building something new from the ashes of who we'd both been. He'd never be just the lonely boy from Jefferson Elementary, and I'd never be just the teacher with idealistic dreams. We were something else now. Something dangerous and beautiful, and entirely ours. And if that meant facing down his world, accepting the darkness that came with his light, then so be it. I'd punch Tommy Morrison for far less. Taking on the Boston underworld seemed like a reasonable next step. Dante glanced back at me, and in his eyes, I saw everything. The boy, the monster, the man struggling between them. And I saw something else too. Hope. Real, fragile, impossible hope that maybe love could exist even in the darkest places. That maybe two broken people could build something whole. I squeezed his hand. He squeezed back. And for the first time since this whole insane journey started, I felt like we might actually make it. Morning came with golden light and the smell of coffee. I woke in Dante's bed, wrapped in sheets that probably cost more than my monthly rent, and for a moment, I couldn't quite remember where I was. Then it all came rushing back. The kidnapping, the warehouse, Dante's threats, his desperate relief when I was safe, the fact that I'd agreed to stay, to build a life in his dangerous world. Second thoughts, his voice came from the doorway, soft but knowing. I turned to find him leaning against the frame, 2 mugs in hand, wearing nothing but low-slung pajama pants. In the morning light, I could see scars crossing his torso, evidence of a violent life I was only beginning to understand. A few, I admitted, but not about you, about whether I'm strong enough for this. He crossed to the bed, handing me coffee. You punched a bully for me when you were 8, negotiated with kidnappers yesterday. I think strength isn't your problem. That's different. That was instinct. This is, I gestured vaguely, choosing to be with someone everyone fears, accepting that you'll do terrible things, wondering if loving you makes me complicit. Dante sat beside me, his expression serious. It does. I blinked. What? Make you complicit. You can't love me and keep your hands clean, Emma. My world doesn't work that way. Money I give you comes from illegal operations. Protection I provide requires violence. Even this coffee, he gestured to the mug, probably bought from a supplier who pays me protection money. The honesty should have pushed me away. Instead, I appreciated it. You're not trying to convince me to stay. I'm trying to make sure you understand what staying means. I won't have you looking at me in 6 months with regret in your eyes, wondering when I became a monster. His jaw tightened. I'm already a monster. You just have to decide if you can love one. I sipped my coffee, buying time to think. Everything he said was true. There'd be blood on my hands by association, moral compromises, sleepless nights wondering where he was and who he was hurting. But there'd also be this, morning coffee and honesty, and a man who'd waited 20 years to find me again, who'd burned the world down to keep me safe, who looked at me like I was his only shot at redemption. I'm not naive, I said finally. I know what you are, what you do, and yes, it terrifies me. But walking away terrifies me more, because I've spent 20 years playing it safe, following the rules, trying to make a difference one student at a time. And it's good work, important work, but it's also small. There's nothing small about teaching. That's not what I mean. I struggled to find words. I've been so focused on being good that I forgot what it feels like to feel, really feel. And you make me feel everything. Fear and hope and anger and this terrifying, exhilarating sense that maybe I'm finally awake after years of sleepwalking. Dante's expression shifted. So you're staying because I make you feel alive? I'm staying because 20 years ago, I made a choice to defend someone who needed defending. And I'm making that choice again. Not because you need saving, you're clearly doing fine, but because maybe we can save each other." He set down his mug, taking mine and doing the same. Then he pulled me into his lap, his arms coming around me like he was afraid I'd disappear. "You make it sound simple, isn't it?" I rested my head against his chest, listening to his heartbeat. "You love me. I love you. Everything else is just details. Details like rivals trying to kill you, like federal investigations, like the fact that eventually you'll have to choose between your world and mine. Then I'll choose." I pulled back to meet his eyes. "Whatever comes, we face it together. That's what you do when you love someone." Something in his expression cracked. "I don't deserve you. Probably not, but you're stuck with me anyway." I traced one of the scars on his chest. "How did you get this one?" "Knife fight. 3 years ago. Guy thought he could take over my territory. What happened to him? He was wrong." The simplicity of that statement said everything. Dante didn't elaborate because he didn't need to. The scar had healed. His enemy hadn't. "And this one?" I touched another, older scar near his ribs. "Bullet. 5 years ago. Calabresi's men, actually. Before we reached our understanding. The understanding you just destroyed by threatening his family. He destroyed it by taking you." No regret in his voice. Some lines once crossed can't be uncrossed. I continued mapping his scars, each one a story of survival and violence. This was my future now. A man whose body was a roadmap of danger, whose enemies would become mine, whose sins I'd have to accept or walk away from. I chose acceptance. "My students are going to wonder where I was," I said, changing the subject. "I missed the last 2 days. Called in sick. Your principal was very understanding when my assistant explained you had a family emergency." I raised an eyebrow. "Your assistant can forge my voice?" "She's talented." He smiled slightly, "and well compensated for her discretion. I can't just disappear from my life, Dante. I have responsibilities." "I know, which is why I've already arranged for additional security at the school. Discreet. Your students won't notice, but anyone watching you will think twice." Part of me wanted to argue about autonomy and independence, but the practical part, the part that remembered the warehouse, accepted it. "Thank you. Don't thank me for doing the bare minimum to keep you alive." His arms tightened around me. "This is my fault. I should have been more careful. Should have seen Calabresi's move coming. You can't predict everything. I should. It's my job. Anticipating threats, eliminating them before they become problems. I got complacent, distracted." His eyes met mine. "By you. So this is my fault?" "No. It's mine for thinking I could have something normal. Something good. Men like me don't get that." I cupped his face in my hands. "Men like you get exactly what they fight for. And if you want something normal and good, then fight for it. With the methods I have available, that fight gets bloody fast. Then make it bloody." The words shocked me even as I said them. "I'm not asking you to change who you are. I'm asking you to protect what we're building, however you need to." Dante searched my face, looking for any sign that I didn't mean it. When he found none, something shifted in his expression. "You're giving me permission. I'm giving you trust. There's a difference." He kissed me then, hard and possessive, like he was trying to brand me as his. When we broke apart, his voice was rough. "No one has ever trusted me like this. Then don't make me regret it." "I won't." The promise in those words was absolute. "I'll protect what's ours, Emma, no matter the cost." We spent the rest of the morning in comfortable silence, him making calls while I graded papers he'd had delivered. It was surreal, the domestic normalcy of it. A mob boss conducting business while his teacher girlfriend worked on spelling tests. But this was my life now, and strangely, I was okay with that. 2 weeks later, everything changed again. I was in the middle of teaching fractions when my phone buzzed with a text from Dante. One word, "Incoming." Before I could respond, the principal knocked on my door. "Miss Carter, there's someone here to see you." My stomach dropped. "Now?" "She says it's urgent, family matter." I excused myself, following her to the office where a woman waited. Elegant, 50s, with Dante's dark eyes and sharp cheekbones. I knew who she was before she spoke. "Miss Carter, I'm Sophia Moretti, Dante's mother's sister. We need to talk." I'd thought Dante had no family. Apparently I was wrong. We sat in the empty teacher's lounge, and she studied me with the intensity of someone used to reading people. "My nephew is smitten with you. I care about him too. Do you? Or do you care about the idea of saving him?" Her smile was kind but knowing. "I've watched that boy survive things that would break most men. He doesn't need saving. He needs someone who sees him clearly and chooses him anyway. That's what I'm doing. Good, because what's coming will test that. She leaned forward. Antonio Calabrese left Boston, but his son didn't. Marco Calabrese is young, ambitious, and furious that his father surrendered. He's building alliances, gathering support, and he's planning something big. My blood ran cold. Does Dante know? He suspects, but he won't tell you because he's trying to protect you. That's why I'm here. You need to understand what you're stepping into. This won't be like Antonio's kidnapping. Marco won't negotiate. He'll strike hard and without warning. What do you want me to do? Be ready. Be smart. And most importantly, don't let Dante push you away when things get dangerous. He'll try to protect you by creating distance. Don't let him. She stood, smoothing her skirt. He's loved you since he was 8 years old, even if he didn't realize it. That kind of love is rare, worth fighting for. She left as quickly as she'd arrived, leaving me shaken. I texted Dante immediately. We needed to talk. That night at his penthouse, I confronted him. Your aunt came to see me. He went rigid. Sophia had no right. She had every right. You're keeping things from me. To keep you safe. No, to keep me ignorant. There's a difference. I crossed my arms. Marco Calabrese, tell me everything. For a moment, I thought he'd refuse. Then he sighed, gesturing to the couch. Sit. This is going to take a while. He told me everything. How Marco had been building a coalition of Dante's rivals. How he'd been smuggling weapons into the city. How there'd been 3 attempts on Dante's businesses in the past week that his people had quietly shut down. He's planning a war, Dante said flatly. And he's using you as motivation. Proof that I've gone soft. That I'm vulnerable. So prove him wrong. I intend to. But Emma, this is going to get ugly. Really ugly. I need you to stay away from me for a while. Just until... No! The word came out firm. We're not doing this. You don't get to push me away every time things get dangerous. That's not how this works. You could die. So could you. Should I push you away too? I moved closer, taking his hands. We're in this together. You said people knowing I matter makes me a target. Fine. Then use that. Let them come for me, and you'll be waiting. Absolutely not. Why? Because you don't trust your security? Or because you're afraid? His eyes flashed. I'm terrified. Of losing you. Of failing to protect what matters most. Of becoming the monster who got you killed. Then don't be that monster. Be the man who fights for what he loves. Who uses every advantage. I squeezed his hands. I'm your strength, Dante. Not your weakness. Let me help. He searched my face for a long moment. Then slowly he nodded. Okay, but we do this smart, carefully. And the moment I say run, you run. Understood? Understood. What I didn't tell him was that I had no intention of running. Not from him, not from his world, not from anything. I'd made my choice, and I was seeing it through to the end. The trap was set 3 days later. I went about my normal routine. School, grocery shopping, evening walk. But this time, Dante's guards weren't hidden. They were obvious, creating the illusion of vulnerability, a heavily protected target that still had gaps. Marco took the bait on the 4th night. I was walking home from dinner, guards flanking me, when the black van pulled up. 6 men poured out, and everything happened fast. Gunfire, shouting. My guards returning fire while pushing me toward cover. But I knew the plan. Knew Dante was watching from his position 3 buildings over. Knew that every man Marco sent was walking into a carefully orchestrated trap. What I didn't know was that Marco himself would be there. He stepped out of the van, gun drawn, pointing it directly at me. Call him off, or I put a bullet in your head right now. My heart hammered, but I kept my voice steady. He won't negotiate. Then you're dead. So are you. Marco's smile was cold. You think I care? My father spent his life building an empire, and your boyfriend took it. Then he humiliated him. Made him run like a coward. I'd rather die than live with that shame. Then you're a fool. The voice came from behind him. Dante, gun raised. Expression deadly calm. Your father was smart enough to know when he'd lost. You're too stupid to see you've already lost. Marco spun, but Dante was faster. The shot echoed through the street, and Marco dropped, clutching his shoulder. Dante's men materialized from everywhere. Rooftops, cars, storefronts. The entire block had been a trap. Marco's men dropped their weapons, realizing they were surrounded and outgunned. Dante walked past them all, coming straight to me. His hands framed my face, checking for injuries. Are you hurt? I'm fine. Is it over? It's over. He looked at Marco, writhing on the ground. Take him to the warehouse. I'll deal with him later. As his men hauled Marco away, Dante pulled me close. You were supposed to stay behind cover. He had a clear shot. I had to keep him talking until you got into position. You could have been killed, but I wasn't, because you were there. I looked up at him. We did this together. That's what I've been trying to tell you. He kissed me, fierce and relieved. When he pulled back, there were tears in his eyes, the first I'd ever seen from him. I love you. I should have said it before, but I love you. More than power, more than empire, more than anything. I love you too. The words came easily now. So what happens to Marco? Dante's expression hardened. He threatened you, shot at you. In my world, there's only one punishment for that. I knew what he meant, knew that Marco wouldn't leave that warehouse alive, and I knew I should feel something. Horror, guilt, remorse. But all I felt was relief that the threat was gone. Maybe that made me a monster too. Or maybe it just made me human. Okay, I said simply. Dante's eyebrows rose. Okay? He made his choice. Now he faces the consequences. Just make it quick. He's young and stupid, not evil. For you. He pressed a kiss to my forehead. Anything for you. We went back to his penthouse, and I didn't ask questions about what happened that night. Some things I'd learned were better left unspoken. Dante's world had rules I was still learning, boundaries I was still negotiating. But I was learning, adapting, becoming someone who could love a man like Dante without losing herself completely. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't easy, but it was ours. 6 months later, everything had settled into a new normal. I still taught at Jefferson Elementary, still graded papers and planned lessons. But now I lived in Dante's penthouse, wore a ring on my finger, and had security that followed me everywhere. The students loved the mysterious uncles, who always seemed to be around, buying ice cream and helping with school events. Dante had kept his promise. His world and mine remained separate, mostly. His business stayed in the shadows while I worked in the light. But there was overlap now. Understanding. Acceptance. His Aunt Sophia became a regular presence, teaching me about the family I was marrying into, the traditions, the expectations, the unspoken rules. It was like learning a new language, but she was patient. You're good for him, she said one afternoon over tea. He smiles now. Really smiles. I haven't seen that since he was a boy. He's good for me too, I admitted. He makes me braver, pushes me to fight for what matters. That's love, the real kind. Not the fairy tale version, but the messy, complicated, beautiful truth of two people choosing each other every single day. She was right. What Dante and I had wasn't a fairy tale. It was better, real, hard-won, forged in fire and darkness and hope. The proposal had come a month after Marco. No grand gesture, no elaborate plan. Just Dante on a quiet Sunday morning, pulling a ring from his pocket and saying, "Marry me, build a life with me. Let me spend the rest of my days proving I'm worth that punch you threw." I'd said yes before he finished asking. The wedding was small, just Sophia, a few of Dante's trusted men, and my closest friends who'd accepted that my boyfriend was a crime boss, with surprising grace. We'd gotten married at City Hall, followed by dinner at Vivace where it all started. Full circle, Dante had whispered, pulling me close as we danced. New beginning, I'd corrected. Now, standing in our home, watching the sunset paint the Boston skyline in gold and amber, I felt at peace. This wasn't the life I'd planned, but it was the life I'd chosen. Dante came up behind me, wrapping his arms around my waist. What are you thinking about? How strange life is. 6 months ago, I was just a teacher going on a blind date. Now I'm married to the most dangerous man in Boston. Regrets? Not a single one. I turned in his arms, looking up at him. You? Only that it took me 20 years to find you again. But we have the rest of our lives to make up for lost time. That's very optimistic for a crime boss. He grinned. You're a bad influence. Says the man who literally runs the underworld. Semantics. He kissed me softly. I have news. Good news. Oh? I'm stepping back. Not retiring, but delegating. Building something legitimate for the first time in my life. Construction, real estate, investments, clean money. My heart swelled. Dante, you make me want to be better. The man you saw in that 8-year-old boy. So I'm trying. It won't happen overnight, and I'll never be completely clean, but I can be cleaner. For you, for the life we're building. Tears burned my eyes. I don't need you to change for me. I know. That's exactly why I want to. He cupped my face gently. You gave me hope when I had none. Defended me when no one else would. Loved me when I was certain I was unlovable. Let me give you a future where you don't have to choose between me and your conscience. I choose you, always. And I choose you. Every day, every moment, forever. We stood there as the sun set. Two people who'd found each other against impossible odds. A lonely boy and the girl who'd fought for him. A criminal and a teacher. A monster and a hero. Or maybe just two people who'd learned that love doesn't exist despite our darkness. It exists because of it. Because someone sees our shadows and decides we're worth fighting for anyway. 20 years ago, I'd thrown a punch for a boy who needed defending. Today, I was building a life with the man he'd become. And somewhere in between, we'd both found redemption. I love you, I whispered. I love you more, he replied. Impossible. Watch me prove it. And he spent the rest of our lives doing exactly that. Thanks so much for reading. If you enjoyed this story, I'd really appreciate it if you could drop a like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. What did you think of Emma and Dante's journey? Did you see the connection to their childhood coming? I'd love to hear your thoughts.